Greetings, everyone. Peace and blessings be unto you. I am Minister Jamie, and I am on the rise. I'd like to thank you all who shall be joining me. I just got in. I apologize. I'm a little late. As you can see with this, I'm making a little minor adjustment. I apologize. I'm a little late. We had a revival at church, and when it comes down to the things of this nature versus the things of God, not that this isn't of God, but can't do but one thing at a time. So here I am, and I trust that you'll get to this. If you're watching it, you got to it. And I'd like to thank you for joining me. Again, I'm Mr. Jamie Eatman, and I am indeed on the rise. I pray all is well with you and that your day has been a blessed one, as has been mine. So um, to God be the glory. To God be the glory. I'm setting up, trying to get into the correct room here. And I think I'll have the right room, just the wrong clips. But in any case, I'll fix that as well. I trust your day has been a good one. As I stated, I went to revival and it was actually good. I enjoyed the message that came forth. The speaker was a friend of mine, and the message he brought was one that was very appropriate. It was actually a revival, and you know how revivals are. For those of you who may attend church, they are designed to make a difference, be the difference in someone's life. So I thank God for the opportunity. It was indeed a great one, and I enjoyed it. I am waiting on this right here.
There is no time to engage in the luxury of cooling off or to take the tranquilizing drug of gradualism.
And I, for one, will join in with anyone, don't care what color you are, as long as you want to change this miserable condition that exists on this earth.
Greetings, I am Jamie Eaton. Join me Fridays at 8 p.m. to our On the Rise movement. You've got to rise. Let's break that down. You know, that started off well with you've got to rise. Indeed, you have to rise. As I stated, I went to a revival, and that was really what it was about, rising. As the minister spoke, he spoke to some things that are very significant in the faith community, type of things that you really want to um, be knowledgeable of. I often tell people that religion is bondage, and there's no greater problem as it pertains to religion is when a person doesn't know the truth and they are bound by religion. There's a liberty, not to saying any one religion is good or bad. I'm saying that religion, when you get to the point where you're living your life based on religion and you place religion above truth, or people that usually do that, they do not seek the truth in some matters. And that becomes very important because it is the truth that will make us free. Uh, Set and make free are two different things. If you think about the incidents as it pertained to slavery, a whole lot of people was in slavery, but some of them actually were free. I learned something today. It stated that Frederick Douglass, when he made the statement that he wasn't going to be a slave for any man, that he was not yet free in the things that were going on. So at that point, Frederick Douglass, he had, well, let's just say he had and some issues that he had to deal with. Okay, I'm going to share something with you all. And as I play this song, I want you all to think about this for a moment. When we run into situations and we encounter them, there are people that wonder, how do we go or where do we go from here? I'll give you all our topic, but I want to give you this first. Listen closely.
My Father glorified. my Father glorified, that he bear much fruit, so shall he be my disciple. Yes. As the Father has loved me, so have I loved you. Continue in my love. Continue in my love. No greater love has no man than this, that he laid down his life for his friend. No greater love has no man than this, that he laid down his life for his friend. And he shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Continue in my love. Oh yeah. Continue in my love. These things I have spoken unto you, that my joy might remain in you, and that your joy might be full, and that ye love one another as I have loved you. Continue in my love. Greater love has no man than this, that he laid down his life for his friend. No greater love has no man than this, that he laid down his life for his friend. Jesus said that you will know, and ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Continue in my love. You and you and you. Continue in my love. As the Father has loved me, so have I loved you.
Greetings, everyone. Peace and blessings be unto you. Welcome, Sister Barbara. How are you?
I'm good. I'm blessed. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. You know,
Your
this
volume is
show.
low, Minister Eatman.
Okay, how about now?
It's still low.
Okay. I don't know. Tell us about your day, and I'm going to go back out and check my volume.
Because mine is all the way up.
Okay.
Okay, my day has been an unusual day, but it could be worse. You know, I'm not saying it could have been worse. We had this week we've had all 4 seasons in 1 week, and this week and the beginning of the week it was the highest. I think it made it up to 76 degrees, and then we had a 72 degrees. And then yesterday it was 59 degrees, and today it was down in the 40s, and the winds were up to 45 miles an hour. I lost power. I had no power for a minute, so I thought I was going to have to go to my son's home. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, God, you know what this evening is supposed to be all about. And I'm like, God, you understand. And I just sat there for a few minutes, and I guess maybe about 45 minutes after I had packed everything, the power came back on. So I'm like, all I could say was, God, thank you. Thank you. It's just been one of those days, but hey, we're here. That's the main thing.
I do understand. My day has been a little interesting as well.
You're still real low.
I'm still really low. Okay. I don't know what that could be.
It is really real low.
Well, tell us your thoughts on the topic, Sister Barbara.
It's almost now, Jamie, where I can see your mouth moving, but the devil is a lie. The enemy, no.
Okay, so
Have you already prayed?
no, I haven't. Go ahead. You do the prayer.
I can't hear you. Okay, Father God, we're just going to come to you. We're just going to say, first of all, thank you. We thank you for this day. We thank you that this is the day that you have made. We shall rejoice and be glad in it, God. God, we cancel the assignment of the enemy that tried to come up against this broadcast. The enemy is canceled. The blood of Jesus is against you, Satan. You have no power. You have no authority. You are under our feet. It will go forth. It will be victorious. Lives will be changed in the mighty name of Jesus. And people will be on the rise because of what they hear from this live on tonight. They may hear it a month from now, they may hear it a year from now, but God, it is productive, Heavenly Father. And so, God, we just thank you. We ask you to have your way in here tonight, and we ask you to speak, Heavenly Father. Let us decrease that you may increase in everything we say and do. In the mighty name of Jesus, we pray. Amen. So, I don't know. I don't. Prayerfully, you can hear me. Minister Jamie's mic is. Something's going on. I can barely hear him. I don't know if you can hear him or not, but we want to do everything in great order. We're going to bring it to you with greatness, with expertise. So that's what he's working on right now. This evening's topic, and he's been kind of been in the ballpark of it. I think maybe he's been in there for a month, but today it's chaos in the community. And so that's one of the things that we're going to prayerfully bring about some understanding. And the thing is to what can we begin to do to bring about change in your community, change in the community all over the United States, all over the world, that everybody can stand up at some point in time and say, you know what, there is change in my community here in Georgia. There's change in my community in Michigan. Michigan, I say it because I am Minister Barbara Floyd, and I am on the rise, and I am one of your Michigan natives. So that's why I had to throw that in there at that particular time. So that's the goal of this, is to bring about change. And so, like I said, today's topic is chaos in the community. So I don't know where Minister Jamie wanted to start at what point he's going to start. But let me just say this. It was really interesting because I had asked him, and it was funny because usually I reach out to him and say, there he is. Prayerfully, we can hear him now.
Well, go ahead and continue. That's like you talk about being stopped when I show up. Go ahead.
Okay, I can hear you some a little bit better, but not much. So
Okay.
I really did some research on chaos in the community because I wanted to know, if you take it and you take a car, and somebody can bring a car into you, then it can be the prettiest car in the world. It can be beautiful. I mean, be a brand new one, just built, just made. But all of a sudden, you go outside to start it, and it won't start. And so you call a technician, or you call a mechanic over, and you say, I got this car, and I want to go such and such a place, but it won't start. So you say, what's wrong with it? And he actually what's wrong. You're like, I don't know. So he's like, well, what was it doing? Well, I don't know. Was it making a funny noise? Well, I don't know. Well, was it smoking? Well, I don't know. Well, did you see oil dropping? Well, I don't know. So if you don't have some kind of clue as to what the things of the problems are, the little warning signs that you got, then you don't know, or you can't tell that specialist how to go and work on it to hopefully solve the problem. And that's where I was thinking of starting, is with the problem. There is a major problem. And our topic is chaos in the community, but I took it and I started broad and started researching and looking at it, and then I brought it in closer. So we all live in the United States of America. That's where we're from. Mr. Eamon is one part of the United States. I'm in a different part of the United States, but we are still all in the United States. So I said, okay, let's look at that what is the thought or what is some of the thing about the United States? And there were some things, and I have to be honest, that literally blew my mind in the research because it showed me where a lot of problems were, but I took it from that area of me doing research and I started to reach out into different states in the United States. I started talking to, I didn't get a lot, but I just got like 3 different people in different areas, different arenas. I got a different nationality. Just say what did they have to say, or was they saying speaking the same language? And one of the big, according to Chorus, when I did the research and I looked it up, they say that the United States is totally chaotic and messy. I was like, wow, that's a broad statement right there. Mr. Eatman, stop me whenever you're ready. But this right here, the next statement, I think will hit you because it's kind of where you started out with, I believe. And the statement was made and it said, the way we were treated as Afro-Americans in slavery. It said that was the biggest mistake that there ever was slavery. It said, and then when the Afro-Americans were freed, there was no place for us to go. We were just out there. And they said it was just kind of like you go out and you just throw seeds in a field and you just throw it and it just scatters. You know, wherever it lands, that's where it lands. And they said that's kind of what happened to our ancestors at the beginning of slavery. It should have never happened, and that's what's happened, and it was one of the biggest mistakes. That was the first thing that was said, the very first. The second thing was when they agreed to bring the 2 different systems, at first it was just 2 different systems into the political arena. And they said Republicans and Democrats. And they said back then, from the beginning when it started, up until the day, there's still confusion in there, and there's no getting along. So I said, yeah, that kind of makes sense. And then it went with the third part. The third thing was, it said that there should never have been, it said that the wars, that all the American wars complex that was fought, that goes back to World War II, we should have never been involved in. And it said what happened was, oh my man, it said the United States was so afraid of China and communism that they were willing to take everything on their own to try to avoid that, the outcome of that. And then the fourth thing they gave them, just 4 from that category, was the healthcare arena. It should never have been allowed to be run by insurance companies. Biggest mistake that there was. And I'm going to stop there and let you go because I went on and I even did some research as far as what the FBI say. And so it kind of gives us probably a way that we're going to have to go, because we talked about it a little bit at our last one. We're going to have to hit in the political arena. We got to pull some different areas, different states. We got to pull them on board. And it just, and so I was like, man, so I'll let you have the floor now. And that's the first part of some of the research. It was, I'm going to tell you one, I'm going to think it's going to blow your mind the way the one thing blew my mind. Out of everything I researched, the FBI, everything, one thing blew my mind. And it could be because of who I am.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
You're sitting there and you're not.
Can anyone hear me now? If you type in the room.
I hate this. I can't hear it.
Okay, maybe it's me.
Do you want me to try to go out and come back in?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? I'm going to go out and I'm going to come back in and see if that makes it better.
Okay.
You can hear me?
Yes.
But I want to hear you.
Okay. Let me see if I can figure it out.
Okay. All right. Well, I can't hear you. The one thing, before I get to the FBI, the one thing that really blew my mind was, I'm gonna tell you about, I got two different people, two different nationalities, that said something, and the one person brought it in, and I don't know, but this is the one thing that blew my mind. Since the 80s, in the entire United States, the rise on prison inmates, and I don't mean it's been on a rise at 5%. I don't mean it's been on a rise at 10%. I don't mean it's on the rise at 50%. 500% increase of women inmates in prison. That literally, that just threw me. But they say the reason why is it's almost as if the roles have switched. You have a lot of females now that are in the homes, that are single parents. They are attempting to raise their children, and for whatever reason, they get involved with the wrong male gender or gender, and it turns into domestic violence. And the domestic violence is so bad, it throws the female in prison. On the rise at 500%. I cannot believe that. So the worst state, let me just hit them all, and then y'all just back up. The worst state in the United States, according to, well, I had three. According to Quorum, the worst state in the United States was Florida. According to Wallet Hub, the worst state in the United States is Nevada. According to the FBI, the top three, the worst is New Mexico, and I got the top 10. And you will be happy like I was. Georgia was nowhere on the map. Neither was Michigan anywhere on the map. The worst state in the United States, where the chaos, as far as we're talking chaos now, is New Mexico. Second is Louisiana. Third is Arkansas. Fourth is South Carolina. Fifth is Tennessee. Sixth is Alaska. Seventh is Missouri. Eight is what was eight? Eight was Oklahoma. Ninth was Colorado, and 10th was Arizona. So when I looked at that, and I got more, all of that I compiled, but then I put that to the side. After I put that to the side, and I'm like, okay, so we got where some major problem areas are, some places that we really need to start pulling in the community, pulling in the ministers, pulling in the pastors, pulling in the evangelists, pulling in the commissioners, pulling in the House of Representatives, pulling in from those states right there. That's the starting point. I think that we can pull in representatives there and say, hey, we see that there's a problem, and how can we work on it? So here was my next journey. I said, okay, let me see if I can tag a few people. And the first person I tagged was a person that you and I both knew, that goes way back when we were first met, and that was Minister Barksdale, Raja Barksdale.
I remember.
And so I asked Raja, and I came at him in different ways. Question number one, question number two, and I said, talk to him, tell him what was in it, and I said, I need to ask you some questions. I said, would you say that there is chaos in the community? And he said, what community are you talking about? I said, well, I'm talking about your community. It can be from the political aspect as you see it. It can be from the Christian aspect as you see it. It can be from the business aspect as you see it. wherever you see the worst chaos is in your community, where's it at? He said, in the Christian community. He said, if I did not know that there was a God, and if I was not a Christian, I would not walk in the church, Barbara, today. He said, I would not go in any of the churches today. And when I called him at work. So he called me back. And then the second time he said, well, I'll call you back again. And I haven't heard back from him. But he just was explaining how the churches are open. The word is not coming forth. He said it's just a mess. So that's kind of where we left that at. So I said, okay, God, let me go into a different nationality. So I went into a different nationality, and I went into the Hispanic community, and I wanted to tag a female. So I knew a female. So I called. The first time there was no answer. I left a message, and I can be persistent. So I called back, and she answered. So the same questions that I put to the gentleman that we both know, I put to her. And she said the same thing he said in the Christian community. She said there is no Bibles in the homes. Matter of fact, she said there's no Bibles in the home. She said a lot of the homes there's no men. She said one of the other things that she sees rapid is homosexuality. She broke it down. And then she said in the homes where there is, in someone where there's both parents, she said there is parents that's trying, and that's a problem that I know I have, is I raised my children were my children. They weren't my friends. They weren't my running buddies. Well, two of them is dead and gone, but I didn't run with them. I didn't hang with them. And I'm talking about BC, before Christ. You know, I didn't party with them. I didn't drink with them. I didn't do anything with them. And she said, that's a big issue right now. And then she said, there's no respect in the streets. So I told her, I said, so if we were trying to pull everybody together and you wanted to change the whole area, whether it was political, whether it was the Christian, no matter business world, what would be the one thing, one thing that you would say that had to be did in order to bring about and take the chaos out of the street? And she said, and I'm going to quote her, she said, make a law that you have to love your neighbor.
That's interesting.
So that was her. And then the third person I went to, now the first person, I think they're in the Carolinas, the one that we know. The second person is a Michigan resident. The third person is I went to Alabama. And I talked to a business and professional person that is a bona fide chef that have traveled on some of the cruise liners as a chef. Also, he's a percussion instrument player, and he's played in some of the top band and with some of the top people. So I posed the same question, and he said the biggest chaos that he sees is in the business community. And I said, okay, so what? And he said, it needs to be revamped and restructured. So I said, okay, so if we're going to revamp and restructure, what do you say? And it went right back. And it was almost like the different people I was talking to, it was like they had communicated. One was tagging out the other. It was what you would think. And they said, revamp the political arena. The ones that are always fighting against each other, the Democrats and the Republicans. So I said, okay, so where you want to take it and where you want to start at is there, but at least I was able to do some research. I spent 2 days of just researching from the time you called me. Actually, within an hour after you called me and gave it to me, I started to do a research on it. And I said, it's like that car. If you don't know any of the problems, or you can go to the doctor and he'll say, okay, why did you want to see me? Well, I don't know. Well, Minister Jamie, why did you make an appointment? Well, I don't know. Well, Mr. Jamie, is something hurting you? Well, no. Well, Mr. Jamie. So I said, okay, the solve problem, we got to know in what arena some of the areas that, to me, that we need to go to tackle. So
I like that. Um, can you hear me now?
very lightly, but I can't hear you.
Okay, go out and come back in, and make sure that check your volume from what you did the last time. In the room, they're saying that they can hear me. So go out and come
Okay.
back and see if that works.
Okay.
All right. If you all can still hear me in the room, please, somebody give me a little reassurance. Type something in. Um, Sister Barbara gave a lot of information there, and it was the kind that we could truly use. I think if I heard it correctly, she introduced someone that was a business person, someone that was maybe two of business person, but one person referenced church, another person referenced government. And those two issues there are very significant. Thank you, Lady Antoinette. Took you long enough. Thank you. But those two issues are very significant. And it's interesting how the business person thought it was business, and how the person that we both know to be from the faith community thought it was religion. And I, because she's not here, can't get the third person. But the problems and the research she did was great. And that was one of the reasons why I used to be on this talk show with another station. And I actually made up my mind that I would not participate in their programs anymore because all they did was gather data and it was never solution oriented. So when we repeat the problem, if we do all the research and see that they're still there, and we can go and look on the internet and they can give us this data, and we can bring this data back, that's good. But if it's going to ever get to a point where something comes from it, this data has to mean something. It's like you have to be able to do something with it. Greetings, Sister Deborah. Peace and blessings be unto you. But we as a community with chaos within the community, that's something to really think about because we all belong to various communities. I like what she said. The one person asked her, that depends on what community you're talking about. Because the community is as small as our homes. You know, if you can imagine, the Bible says that a person must first be able to rule his household before he's trying to rule the house of God. You've got to be able to lead your family before you can think about leading the people of God. If you start looking at that, if there's chaos in the home and the person's not effectively dealing with that, and they go into the church, there's more than likely going to be chaos there. Not saying that's going to always be the case, but I'm just throwing that out there. There was a program we did on Wednesday, and the program, the question was asked about confrontation, enemies, and war. Confrontation, enemies, and war. And when you get to the point where you become non-confrontational, a lot of the issues that cause chaos, if you don't deal with them, can you imagine someone coming by with a gun and they're shooting people? The person has like 10 ammo magazines. Nobody ever confronts the person. He's going to empty those magazines, and that means that everybody that was there was subject to being shot because nobody wanted to confront him. Sometimes confrontation comes with a little risk, but it's worth it because change comes about with individuals. Until individuals can begin to confront something, challenge something, or at least oppose it, that something is going to run rampant. It's like disease. If left untreated, it's going to run rampant within the community. So all that becomes important. And when we talk about chaos, out of chaos comes order, but we have to first know what and how to deal with the chaos. Can you hear me now?
Yes. I
Oh, yeah,
rebooted the whole system.
and I can hear you well. Okay, you know, you covered a lot of information there, and it was a lot. But let's go back to the start of it. The first thing you started talking about was they said it was a problem when slavery ended and we had nowhere to go. Yeah, a part of today's chaos. Yeah, go ahead. What were you about to say? Were you about to say something about that one? Did I understand
No,
it correctly?
the only thing I was saying, it started out with saying the problem started when there was slavery. It said there should have never been any slavery. That was the
Right,
first point. The
right.
second point two, was when we were free, we had nowhere to go.
Okay, now let's look at that for a moment. Let's talk about chaos in the community. You're familiar with the term reparation, right?
Yes.
That term reparation goes right back to the very first issue you named before you got to all the others. Reparations about what? Money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Money, root of all evil.
Mm-hmm.
The love of money being the root of all evil. You went back to a scenario that you said it just this point blank, that the other problem was when slavery ended, we had nowhere to go. There was a hell of a lot more to deal with than where we were going, because even today, reparation being one of those issues have impacted almost everything that you just named. If you look at the churches, if you look at the job, the business, the politics, if you had asked a black professional versus a white professional, you may have gotten two different answers. But your research is
Mm-hmm.
good. And while you were away, what I was saying was this: when it comes to research, most people are going to be able to tell us the problem of what they see it as being. But when we look at it, and just like we've gathered it now, it really comes to a point where you have to look at it with a solution base, some, here's the word, strategic. Without some strategy of dealing with it, even confronting it, or even going through it, then you just end up being substitute. The whole intent is when you identify a problem, you got to be in a position where you got to be able to do something about it, do something different. Because we're either going to be a part of the problem or part of the solution. The
The
other thing
solution.
I said was when you asked Brother Roger, he's a Christian, so he said it was religion, right?
He said it was, in other, the way he said
Christianity
it,
was his answer.
the body of Christ, more or less. Well, let me put it like this: the churches. That was it. The church,
Okay, and if you
which
remember,
is the. Go ahead.
I always say that religion is bondage. So when you think about that concept, religion being bondage, and his answer with all the problems is the different religions, this as opposed to that. And even within the religion, it's like a wheel within the middle of a wheel. All these things, they have a life, but they have lives within the life. So when you start looking at the chaos within the community, sometimes you have to look at the core issue and work out, or sometimes you deal with something way out here, but you got to go back to the core problem, because they teach you when you're putting out a fire, you don't aim the water at the flame, you aim it at the base.
Oh,
So
okay.
almost everything that you kind of stated there, I could, we had the issue with the here, but I really want to go back to that first one because that was the main issue right there. If you look at most things that are going on today now, and then you mentioned the two parties, it would actually probably be four or three, because there was a
Y-
point when they changed them around. There was a point where
Yeah, it,
Republicans, yes,
what
Republicans
they
were the.
what it was the
Go ahead.
beginning. In the beginning, this was all the beginning where it started, like where slavery started. In the beginning, there was only the two parties. Yeah, now there is more, but they were saying that back then when there was two parties, they couldn't even get along. There
Right.
was chaos in them, and it still is. And I don't, one of them, I've got it written down a bit. One of them was like, and it's still chaos. They still bicker. They still argue amongst themselves. They can't come to a simple solution for basically anything. That was what the second person that I had said when I hit when they that was the Hispanic lady,
But think
but
about
she
this,
based
Barbara.
their everything at home.
But think about it this way: if you think about what the political parties are doing now, and go back to slavery, slavery was the issue. When you study down south and the issue with the cattle versus the farming, you got this
Hmm.
division there. People that wanted the farming, they wanted the slave. People that wanted the cattle wanted the land so they could feed. So you got north and south. Even when we look at history period, and we start studying how things came about, we think it was one area that actually was totally against slavery, but they really was. There was some other motivation. But when you look at it, that was an issue that started there. So when you look at these states here, the what is it, the Confederate, you know, there was
Mm-hmm.
something that separated those armies. There's something that separates these parties. And even today, as I was about to say, when you look at history, supposedly it was the Republican Party that always stood out and looked out for rights and all that. That was more just. But somewhere in history, they supposedly changed it around to where um, I don't know. Even it's confused to even talk about it. But somehow they changed the party, their intent, the whole 9 yards. The names changed. If you think about Frederick Douglass and what he stood for, saying he's a Republican, that doesn't sound much like Republicans supposedly today. But we look at today and what's supposedly going on with Democrats. It's something different. But I want to know people, to be honest with you, I don't really subscribe to one party. I think that is, pardon my expression, I think that's ignorant because Malcolm X said it this way. He said that the northern foxes were no less dangerous than the southern wolves. In other words, a wolf is a wolf, but a fox is still
Mm-hmm.
just as dangerous. He just goes about it a little differently. So what we have to look at is really kind of what is it that we're serving that's serving us. If we're serving God, then we can't be in a position where we're submitting to everything that's going on around us. Most of what you stated, we're people that we're going to churches and we see the church as being this great problem. Is it the church or is it the truth? If we go into a church and they're not accepting of the truth, then that truth becomes the problem, not the church. Because when you start getting in there and the person is up there preaching, if he's preaching a lie, at some point, when the sermon is done, there could be some questions. And if the person didn't answer them properly, uh, it didn't say go in there and do this and do that. It said just shake off the dust. Shake off the dust and go on and, find you someone that will, that
Take
will
the dust from
receive.
your feet.
But when it comes down to the word, many of us who carry it, we're ministers, we're responsible for it. But it says it is good for reproof, correction, and instruction. So we should be kind of policing some of the things that we're calling problems. So when I go someplace or I get a chance to speak, I tell people most places, I can't really think of a place yet that I've had a chance to speak that I didn't say that religion is fun. And the reason I say that is because I want people to think we're either part of the problem or part of the solution. And today, most people that are Christians, when they talk about Christianity or you talk about Christianity, they're angry because you're talking about Christians. But I saw something, and this is what it said, Sister Barbara. It says that the Vatican was in trouble because he said something that offended the LGBT.
Mm-hmm.
What's the next word you
Mm-hmm.
think I'm going to say? Christian community.
Mm-hmm.
The
That's
LGBT Christian community. How does that sound? What's wrong with that?
that was one of the statements when I spoke with the Hispanic lady, and she really hammered on that, and she was saying um, where she went back in, I would say, in our time or our parents' time, and she was speaking of the home and what was being said, and it wasn't a big, like she said, it wasn't a lot of television then. It was more what you heard. You heard from a lot of it from the pulpit or from a neighbor or a newspaper or something or from the radio. And she said now all over the place, she said they're pushing the word love and they're pushing it and surrounding it with the LBG community. And she said that's not God, like that's not what's in the word of God. She said, yeah, you got to love everybody. She said, but when you got the political arena that's pushing this, you got some of the churches now that's saying, well, yeah, he's a pastor, he's teaching the word, it's the same Bible that I'm teaching, and you got to love him. So her statement, in other words, was they're making everything all right when it's wrong. it's a lie. In other words, it's not the truth. She really, I was really inspired by that young lady, older lady, whatever. I think she was in her mid, like I think she's in her mid 50s. But and that was her main thing right there. She said because the word is not being allowed to be the word. People are not hearing that. People are hearing what they want to hear. They're seeing what they want to see. They're speaking lies and trying to make it be the truth. And that's one of the things she hammered on was about the LBG community and the pastors and the people in the political arena, everybody that's supporting it. And she
Right.
said, you see it marching down the street now, and it's hooray, hoorah. Yeah, she was really, and she ended up what she said that there needs, and that's the one that says to get the chaos out of every place, you're going to have to, she said, it needs to be a law that says you have to love your neighbor.
And you did say that, but think about this, Sister Barbara. I want to deal with a couple of things she said. The portion about the community, you literally explained three scriptures better than I ever could. When good is made to appear evil, and evil is made to appear good. That was a part of what she was explaining, right?
Mhm.
She didn't use those words, but to think about it, that which was in her day when she said that it wasn't that or whatever it was, but now it's staring you right in your face. It's like,
Mhm.
and then it's like the churches. But in order for that to be in the church and be there, it's either it's the truth or it's a lie. And when people actually get to the point where they will receive the lie and discard the truth, because not everybody is accepting it because they believe it to be the truth. Some people know it's a lie, but it's easier to accept than it is to stand up against it. It's easier to receive it than oppose it. Another
Mhm.
example would be in our community. People can get out here all day in the streets and they kill me. It almost bothers me when I hear someone say the N word. I feel like saying, nigga, please. The N word. Can you imagine that? If you look at our people from where we have come and
Yes,
where we are today, but let them get around each other. They'll call each other that in a heartbeat. It's like a
I know.
plantation mindset all over again. That's the part
Yes.
that bothers me. It bothers me because of the fact that you will go out here and call this among yourself. You will use all this negative, destructive type conversation and behavior, and then you get around someone else that probably thinks less of you than you probably think of yourself, and then you curtail it and you use N word. You know,
Mhm.
is there something wrong with that? When I try to get in those conversations because they bother me. And the other portion is this: the Bible speaks of people having itchy ears
Itching ears. Yeah.
and how they would not endure sound doctrine.
Yeah.
So when you look at those three things there and look at the answers you got, do they all fit within one of those three categories?
You're asking me a question?
I'm asking you a question of the people you spoke with and the answers you were given. Would you not say that all of their answers could be engulfed in those? If I was teaching those lessons, I could use each one of those as an example of what I was.
I think any of the examples could have been used because the people that I spoke to, I believe they were speaking from their heart. They were answering the questions that I put before them.
Right.
Um, and it was so amazing because out of the people that I had a chance to speak to, only one person said, and that was the business person uh, in the business arena that said, okay, what is this survey? And so I said, this is not a survey. I said, it's a research. I'm doing some research. I said, we're trying to find a way to change people hearts and their mind to bring them up so that they will rise up above where they're at, that they will rise up to be better than who they are. I said, in order to solve problems, and the person knew that teaching was one of my things. They knew that that's my gift and calling. And I said, in order to solve a problem, you've got to first know what the problem is. You got to know where the problem lies. If it's no problem with the carburetor, then I don't have to tackle that. But if something wrong with the carburetor, let's see what it takes to fix that carburetor. So they was like, oh, okay, really? So I said, it's in a beginning status right now. We'll keep y'all up to date. I said that it will be becoming live more and you will hear more about it. I said, because the thing is to bring about some change. And so everyone that I spoke with was okay. They were okay with answering the questions, and I thank them very much for it. But I really believe that they were answering it to the best of their ability and with what they know to be coming from their heart.
Right. And I think what you're saying is true, and I have no doubt about that. But if you think about the questions that were asked and the answers that were given, now those were individuals, and if we're going to work toward a solution, the person that you asked in the business setting, his answer was a little different. And Brother Roger, his, his answers were a little different than the young lady. But they all are addressing a problem. Now, let's say we went in there using the on the rise, spiritual uprising concept to the point we're having this as a forum. And they're all three sitting at the table, along with someone from DFAC, along with maybe a minister from the community, along with maybe we were fortunate enough to have one of the politicians that would come and sit down. And we started this type of conversation, not just for point of identifying the problem, but kind of getting it out there so we can look at that solution. That way, most people, when they have some input to the discussion, they are more apt to work toward the solution that stems from the root. So if your people, and like you said, they're in different areas, which is what gives me the vision that this is something that would need to be taken to various communities. I think you mentioned that the last time we talked. That's the vision because when you have
Jamie,
these,
repeat, Minister Jamie, repeat that because you broke up for a minute.
okay, I was saying that when we spoke, that was one of the things that we had touched on about taking this type of discussion to the community, but at the same time, instead of doing them individually, is having that table that they're sitting at,
Mm.
along with some other things that we always want the clergy community there because they're the ones that's supposed to speak into our life spiritually. We want someone maybe from, depending on what the issue is, the Department of Family and Children Services because they're the ones that's either building up families or tearing them down. They also know the problems that we need to be addressing within our community that's causing us so much havoc. The issue that was mentioned about, they might even know about the abuse. Why there is to determine there's not necessarily a husband that are not in the home. Whatever the case may, father said, but whatever the case may be, when you get this collective group at the table, then we start the conversation of this nature. When the one person says this and the other person speaks to it, we begin to see how not only what one individual is saying, but how the community kind of thinks. People will shun someone if they don't give a popular answer, but that might be the right outcome. And that's where the authority will come in, or whatever the case may be. But this is kind of what's needed. As you did the statistical or the studies there, as I alluded to earlier, when you think about the concept of slavery, and not only did the people not have any place to go, they didn't have any money. So now that we got absorbed into whatever communities, we still didn't have any money. And today we've gotten where we've gotten, as they say, pulling ourselves up by our bootstraps. However you want to look at it. Some would say the welfare. However you want to look at it, we're still at a point now where, like the king, he who gets behind in a race. So if slavery during that time frame was a race, we still got the one group back here polishing the starting blocks, while the other group was out here running, making it wasn't millions at that point because money wasn't that valuable. But they made a fortune before the other ones ever even got in a position where they could even be considered for a wage. So you got issues like reparations that are still out there that nobody really talks about that truly should be due if we wanted to be just about the injustice that was done in the past. Now, the other side of the coin is this. When we look at our community, there are some things within our community that we need to fix. And if we don't pay any attention to them, it's those same things that are going to be like the cankerworm. No matter what we do, this cankerworm is going to keep eating away
Yeah.
and eating away. We have to be able to do what it's a real strategy. Is this when you have an army and you want to bring about the type of change that we're talking about on the citizen, you have to have people that are willing, and you have to identify these people that know how to go and fight the forward battle. Because the forward battle is the one that's most important. The young lady that said something about make a law. Listen to what she said, Sister Barbara. Make a law. What law do we follow? What law should mean the most to us? The law of God, right?
Mm-hmm. I
So
was reading.
if she said make a law, what was the law for again? That nobody was what was it?
Oh, the what she said, make it a law that you had to love your neighbor.
Okay,
In other
so
words, it's talking in scripture, love thy neighbor as you do yourself.
right, so that's already the scripture. So
Yep.
if you made that a law, how could you enforce that law? How could you enforce? God knows the heart of a man. So when we look at the law, you can legislate X, but you can't legislate love. That's
Yeah.
one of the biggest things when Dr. King why the Constitution is so important. You had a written document here that dictates your action. You ain't gotta love me, but this document says this is how you should conduct yourself.
Yeah.
So when you have something like that in place, then you have at least a starting point. But to have something where everyone should love their neighbor, you if we vote people into office today and we have a mindset that that person, if they're not doing right, just wait the next time. We're not going to vote for them. That's not even love of ourselves. If that person is in office
Yeah.
supposed to be representing us, we should be there at that office every day or somebody. Just like they have the people that go there. What do they call those people that go there and they want to represent a certain group? I can't think of it. But in any case, we should have that same group there that if I elected you to office, Mr. Barber, you're not doing what you should be doing, there should be somebody or a group representing us at your office every day.
Mm-hmm.
Every day. Every day there should be somebody there. The news people should get tired of seeing us at your office. You should get tired of seeing us at your office. But
Mm-hmm.
we don't do that. What we do is when somebody want to give us go in, maybe we thought we were sitting somewhere and they turned out to be a lemon, we go and make lemonade.
Mm-hmm. I think one of the things I think is that the lady, she was from the Hispanic community. The one thing that she started out, the very first words that she said, and it made me think of my parents and what people used to say. And she said her first statement was no Bible. And when she said no Bible, I'm like, okay, what do you mean no Bible? She said there's no Bible in the homes, and she was talking about how, and I know I have people that used to, and some still do, the older ones, they call me a pew baby. I'm like, no, I was not a pew baby. My parents raised me in the church. Okay. My foundation was faith, you know, that no matter what, I was not allowed, and I did not allow my children to use the word can't. CAN apostrophe T, you couldn't use it in my household because I believe that you can do all things through Christ that strengthen you. Some things are harder than others. Everything is not going to come easy, you know, but you can do it if you put forth the effort. And that's the one thing that she said, her first words is no Bibles. There's no Bibles in the home. And she took a little bit further where how it used to be, and you could go outside and uh, I know when my children were coming up, I could clean my whole house and my kids was not going to go too far to the right nor to the left. And so she brought some of the older traditions, some of the older things that we grew up with. Our parents, we saw our parents, the lives that our parents lived. Now, were they perfect? No. Are we perfect? No. But we're striving for perfection. I'm striving, let me speak for myself. I'm striving for perfection every day. Have not arrived, but God knows I am trying, you know. And so, and I think that is a big mistake. And when she said it, it threw me into, and I was talking to a relative, a cousin of mine today, because I've been trying to reach her about something else. And we were talking about, we have a we have a family reunion coming up this year. And I did this. If God tell me to go do something, I do it. Other than that, I threw my hands up and I told, I do what I do best, pray.
Right.
I do that best is pray. And the mindset, and that's kind of where she went. And if you think about you and your life before I even met you, and growing up in the neighborhoods, and it's true now. And when COVID hit, that just threw everything out.
Right. But Barbara, think about this for a second. I remember when I heard this song, there was a line that said, "Hotel, motel, holiday inn." This
You heard what? Say it again, Jamie.
there was a line from this song that said, "Hotel, motel, holiday inn."
Holiday Inn.
It was speaking of sex, going to a hotel. But
Mhm.
if you think about it, when I was coming up, you know, in rural Utah, there was no hotel, motel, or holiday inn, and half the things that people may in the city may have to deal with, I didn't. But I'm saying that to say this: there was once a time when those type places were required to have a Bible in their nightstand.
Yes,
So when she says there's no Bible in the home, you really have to wonder how much difference does the Bible itself make? It's not about the Bible, it's the
it's the word.
values that the person that owns the Bible have. If they gave every home today a Bible, I don't think that would bring about a change, because it isn't what's in that Bible or what that Bible represents, is that's taught from it and what that person can receive of it. So I
Hmm.
don't think that that was it was a good response, because that's the way she feel. But my thought
Hmm.
on that is, that isn't so much as I see it a big problem, because people could have the Bible even now. A lot of people that were drugged when we went, we went to church, and some people say, they were drugged. It wasn't about being drugged. Wasn't nobody there to keep you, so you win, or whatever the case may be. Especially when most people say grandmama. Grandmama's values never change. I think the problem might be, and we have to look at this from a realistic perspective. When we're speaking now, and we're speaking about how it was when we were children and what we were taught, what happened that our children didn't get taught the same thing? That causes us
Yeah,
to,
yeah.
we should start internalizing and ask the question, where did we go wrong? What did we fail to do? Because it's one thing I've noticed, is that the falling away, it increases from one generation to the next. If you look at your mother, grandmother, when they was coming up, they might have been viewed one way. But when you saw them, they were stricter than your mom. Your mom tell you about how their parents were, and now our children today, they'll probably stop at some point now and say, "Wouldn't have been me. I'd have never," because they ain't hearing it. So how did they get to that point where they are, with us standing where we do? Somehow something failed, or something is failing us. So we can look externally at some things. There are some things I used to never say that the system had anything to do with children. It was always us. But then I began to realize that a lot of the things that we are taught, they were systematically taught to us. I learned, how I usually talk about Candace. And every now and then when they try to make Candace as though she's anti-black,
Oh,
I listen,
okay.
I listen to what she says. She made a comment that was about so they were wanting to give some money for something, and she threw up about how there was a point when they used money to take care of women as long as they didn't allow the black male into their homes. And they took that at the end of the day to try to say that she was saying something negative. But that's the thing that I call the real battle. When we look at the things that have been done and we see the impact of them, they're done now, so it's history. So what we have to do is come up with a strategy to gain what was lost, or to take that was taken away. You know, it's one I say lost and one I say taken. When someone takes something for you, it's forcibly. When you lose something, it may be to your ignorance, your carelessness, or just being absent. You know, that's not everybody's story that she was talking about, but it is for some. And when you look at the prison system, oh, you mentioned that portion. When you mentioned that prison piece, it came home for me. I was something I was listening to, which made perfect sense. The person asked the question, do you know that most prison systems are owned by record executives or people of that nature? And then they said, if you look at the songs that are going out, they promote a behavior. You know, it's about weapons, it's about death, it's about violence, it's about drugs. Think about how long that has been going on. So when you mentioned that increase in communities, the first thing I thought about, you know, it used to be all about males, and there was a few girls or females that popped up every now and then. But look at what's going on now. You got females everywhere. So if females are everywhere and they're actually broadcasting that same type behavior, it would only make sense that the number of females in prison went up. Look at that culture. Look at the increase. So you if you probably looked at it and did a graph, it would probably be proportionate, believe it or not.
You know, it's not the amount, the percentage was what threw me. They didn't say a 50% increase, a 25% increase. When you talk a 500% increase, that's mind blowing to me.
Here's the other, Barbara. It just occurred to me. Just occurred to me. Think about this for a moment. Here's the answer, Sister Barbara. Do you know at a time when it wasn't kosher to be female and female, but now because it's so commonplace, go back and look at when it became more acceptable. Maybe when Obama approved that. Look at the statistics from there forward. It ain't like just female. Look at females beating females. You don't have husbands and wives anymore. You have women and women. So naturally, look at that.
But he just, I don't know why it did. And when she said it, she didn't say it, that's when I got the research on that. That's when I was in the research field, and it threw me. But then it instantly, kind of a few minutes right after that, and still when I was in that field of still researching, and I remembered something that had just happened here either last week or week before last. Now, if I can go someplace and stay off the expressways, I'm going to stay off the expressways. They're crazy out there. It's bad enough on roads. And all along, and this was the first time I heard this, going down one of our main expressways, which was I-94 here, there was road rage, and it was a female chasing another female, and she caught her, and she actually shot at her. And I remember when I heard that on the news, I was like, oh my God. And I'm like, okay, that's the first for that one, because it's not something normally you hear. Back here, a year before last, I was around the house doing something and listening to the news, and you did not hear, well, this is what I used to say way back, 30, 40 years ago. I used to do private duty nursing. I used to pull a closed head injury, a suicide guard for one of the major hospitals here. Well, I tell people that in the nursing homes, if you went in the nursing homes and you saw a Black person or Afro-American, however you want to title it, they were working there. They were at work in the facility. They were either nursing, or they were custodian, or they was housekeeping. They worked there. Now, and I don't know how it is there, but now in all of the nursing homes, basically, here you go in and you see more of us as patients than you do of working staff. And I
Hmm.
said, there's a breakdown, and I could, because we took care of our own. Now, this generation now, they don't have time. I don't have time to take care of you. I ain't got time for this. I don't have time for that. And they throw them away. And then the bad part that I found out just asking questions one day, they don't come back to see about them. It's just like
But
that 500% increase. That just literally, because I'm seeing things. It's like it's getting worse. Things that we did not do.
but Barbara, think about that. If it was just say five, and you had now 25. The numbers don't have to be that high. Sometimes if a person is wanting to make something sounds kind of bona fide, they'll use percentages versus numbers, or they'll use numbers, and it may be something small, but that number, I think, has a lot to do with when you said about that female following the other female and shooting. That probably wasn't road rage. It might have been something beyond that. That person could have left the home or whatever the case may be. But when you look at those statistics, and that's really something to think about, because I never gave any thought to it other than, just them together. But if you look, excuse me, if you look at what used to be abusive, it used to be male toward female
Mm-hmm.
because it was husband and wife or boyfriend, girlfriend.
Right. Right.
But now, if you look at the relationships and the type that they are now, and then if you look at kind of just those numbers of what percentage of relationships result in violence, and go and look at that and use that same percentage now, female, you're going to see an increase if those
Mm-hmm.
statistics are correct. So there's a lot of things that we
Yeah.
see in our community that are becoming chaotic, and the question becomes, how tolerant should we be, or why are we so tolerant of chaos within our community?
Well, only thing I can say is, and it was so funny because I laughed after you had called me. You was like, wait a minute, I hadn't heard from you. But when you told me what the topic was, or the theme was for the day, and I sat there and I was like, okay, God, what I do? And he's like, because like I said, my gift and calling, I know, is that of teaching, and that much I love. And I'm like, nothing. I know the prayer that I've had before God for a few months, and I've been watching confirmation, or I've been watching things. So I'm like, okay, God, why is this? There's a reason why this is presented to me. What can I do? If there's a problem, if there is chaos, and I'm like, God knows, I want to be better. I want my son and his wife, I want them to be on the rise. I want my next door neighbors to be on the rise. I want better. I want not only better for me, like you said, I want better for my community. I look at my community, and we're just talking about my personal community now, but where it was when I moved here 25 years ago, where I live. To
Hmm.
now, there's a change. And I don't say it's a change for the better, it's a change for the worse. So whatever has made that worse, let's bring about the change, and let's take it back and make it even better than it was. So I'm like, okay, guys, so what can I do? What is it that I can do? And I love research. I have not researched. I I had a little piece of notebook and paper, and I'm like, oh no. Let me go in my office to find a tablet. I went and found a tablet,
Hmm.
put my ink pen in there, and I said, okay, let me start here. Then let me go here. And it was just, then it's like, okay, let's talk to some human beings, because if I can be an instrument in saying to somebody, okay, there is going to be a meeting that's going to be discussed. How can we bring about change? What can we, in this arena, this group, what can we do to make it better?
Hmm.
Not to make it worse, but to make it better. And in order to, it's like I said with the car. I don't care how pretty that car is. If you don't know what the problem, if you haven't seen some of the warning signs, you know, you can't tell the mechanic what to do. If you go in a doctor's office and you just walk in there and he's like, hey, Mr. Eman, how are you doing? Da, da, da. And he's like, well, why are you here? Well, I don't know. Well, what's your problem? Well, I don't know. What's hurting you? Well, I don't know. Was anything bothering you? Then he's going to send you to a psychiatrist. I can guarantee you.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, okay, so that's why, you know, it's like, because how I feel and how somebody of a different race or a different gender may feel is totally different. But if we all come together, if we can come together and find that common denominator, that common denominator to bring about change, to make it better, so that your grandchildren, we may be dead and gone, but your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, your great-great-grandchildren it will be better. And they're like, well, because my grandfather and his friend and so and these people did it together, you know, life is better. We're rising above what it used to be. And I had to look at myself when you said it, and I'm like, okay, God, I know nothing happens by accident or coincidence. There's a reason for everything. There's a season for everything. Some seasons are long, some are short, some are forever. You just don't know. But that's why I said to you at the last one, I'm willing to start.
And I appreciate that, because it's definitely an encouragement. You know, when you can sit down and even like with the research you did, depending on what it is that comes before you or comes to you, depending on who you are, you can't just dismiss it. It's almost like you're required to do something with this. This didn't just get to you by accident. Yeah. So when those type things come up and we get them, like even with this portion that we've done, I definitely like probably you and I to put together a complete survey, some questions, kind of put our heads together, and we'll just make that available offline for some people so we can actually get some focused answers that we can really deal with some things on. I want to show this one video, and I've saved it. I don't even know what's on it, but it's called Morality Destroyed. So if I saved it must be for some reason. So let's just check this out.
Okay.
All right.
The destruction of morality overall, the systemic, orchestrated, planned, targeted destruction of morality. Put up the women who are butt naked, lots of money, everybody love them, likes and views. So it's psychologically that would translate to a child and say, oh wow, all of those people like her and she's wearing that and she's dancing like that. So that's what I need to do. Most of us don't realize that's how the subconscious mind works. The mind operates along pictures. So children are looking at this and they're looking at the response. The response is good, overwhelmingly good. Well, I want that response, so that means I have to do this. That's how the mind works.
True.
And we want to run around talking about, well, I ain't no leader. Then go and dance in your mirror at home.
Just like the young boys that's growing up and seeing that,
yes,
you know, the gangsters or the guys.
Vice versa. Like when I grew up in Compton, my brothers was gangbangers. What? Uncle used to be selling drugs. What? I was taught how to crip walk when I was 4 years old. Let's make this clear. I know how to crip walk before I learned how to pray. Because of the environment. So the relationships and all of that, destruction of morals, destruction of ethics, removal of men from the home, men with righteous principles, with masculinity, who want to do things proper, the destruction of women, the destruction of femininity, divine femininity in women, you know, who want to care and nurture and be there with proper love and work in a balance with the divine masculinity of her man. That was destroyed and removed. All of these things, they removed. Boom, 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 boom. So now you got people up there who don't know who the hell they are. They don't know the history. They don't know the culture. They don't know who God is. They don't know who this enemy is. And they up there doing any and everything, male and female, and the people are looking up to them.
Right.
And they're learning it from them, not realizing, guess what? The majority of them have been placed there. And the agenda is being fed to them, and they out just, okay, where do I go? What camera? Okay, what I do here? Okay, boom, 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 boom. And so they're following the script. So again, we always have to go back to the enemy. Where is this coming from? Who's writing the script and who's doing it? Because I can't attack our sisters up there. We have to hold them accountable. Don't get it twisted. And I can't attack our brothers, but we have to hold them accountable. But we always have to go to the root of the thing. Because the majority of them don't have no damn clue of what the hell is really going on. That's why when I get a call from a lot of these artists and celebrities, brother, they don't know. They don't know history. I mean, the stuff, the conversations I've had to have, I've been so disappointed, but I couldn't judge, you know, but I was just thinking like, damn, she really didn't know that. He really didn't know that. They really didn't know that. It gives you a different perspective because you got a bunch of grown children who are millionaires now because the enemy gave it to them to prop them up to control and manipulate the masses of the next 2 to 3 generations so that we can destroy ourselves. Yes, good. Yes. All right, good. So nobody's going to look at me back here. They're going to look at her and him. They're going to go at each other. Yes, that's what I want. Yes, that's what it is. It ain't just women who want to do this or want to be this. It ain't just men who want to do this or want to be this. Bro, when we have the proper man in the house, the proper woman in the house with morals and ethics and love for one another, love for God, whatever you call it, him, her, the family is different. The environment is different. Stuff comes out different. Y'all know how it is. It's different. But if you remove these things piece by piece, how you gonna blame the victim all day? We can take responsibility, sure, but can we please get back to the real enemy, or y'all tired now? You got all the smoke for each other because that's an easy target, but ain't nobody talking about this system. I don't like that. Stop going off about black men, black women because you haven't met all black men and black women. So we got to stop generalizing, individualize it. This sister here, we don't like how she represented. Boom, 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 sister, please, out of love with your brothers, but what you're doing is messing with my daughter's mind, and my daughter came and showed me a video, and she says she love it, but what you're wearing is messing. You know what I'm saying? Like, individualize it and tailor it to individuals. But if we start generalizing, and I'm in on this point, generalizations are the language of the ignorant. Because rather than you using your knowledge and the ability to reason and critically think, you just throw a blanket over everybody because you don't have that much knowledge in your head to break it down. You ain't trying to waste that much time. It's hurting your brain to really go into specifics. And so you generalize all women, y'all men. We haven't met all of one another. So we literally, intellectually, logically, or factually, we can't talk about all of us because we ain't met all of us. You know what I'm saying?
Please don't forget.
All right. Was that powerful?
It really brought tears to my eyes because it was really a confirmation to a conversation that I've been having. I don't know if you see some of the posts I posted on Facebook. I want to say last week because I posted something different this week, but I posted on Facebook last week to please be aware because the enemy is busy right now, and the enemy is being very cunning and he's being very sneaky. There's only 3 ways that the enemy can get enter: eye gates, ear gates, and in and out of the mouth. And so I had asked people then, I'm like, you gotta start praying. I said the word said pray without ceasing because he's busy, and that right there is the truest thing. I went to my pastor about teaching a class to the young ladies about just what he was talking about.
So he's on point, and
yes,
we are on point here. The chaos within the community, and I love what you said about teaching that class. I definitely want to talk more about it. So maybe our next topic will be agents of change within the community, or something along that line.
It's gotta be because I just say like my own pastor, and I realize times has changed. Okay, but in my mind, all females don't come from the same household. All children, all young ladies, all young men don't come from the same household. He put more into basketball for the females than he did for educating and teaching them. You don't have to look like that. You don't have to do that. You do not have to lower your standards to get a man. If you got to lower your standards to get a man, that's not for you anyway. He's not for you anyway. But he'd rather have basketball. So That's why I tell people I'm doing what I do best. I'm praying because I don't understand right now. I'm at a point where I don't understand why God has me where I'm at. But I know there's a reason. My pastor's very young. And there's something, it just drives me crazy. And I'm like, God, you got to help me. But you see the young ladies, you see the young men, and it drives me crazy. Like I said, my children weren't allowed to use the word can't in their vocabulary in the house, and we heard it. That wasn't an option. It just wasn't. We pushed our children, we encouraged them. My daughter came out of high school in 3 years.
Okay.
She skipped the 11th grade. She came out, she graduated 1 year early and went right on into college. But the force and like you used to, I used to get up, my kids used to get up and you saw Bugs Bunny and Sylvester Roadrunner and Felix the Cat or whatever it was. And now from the time the TV never shuts off, all day it's either about gambling or it's about selling your body, and the women might as well be naked. Oh Lord. I was just telling one of my friends, I said, if I'd have walked out of my house, looked like I was going anybody's store with some house shoes on and a pair of pajama bottoms, I wouldn't be living today.
Yep. A lot of that is I guess you might say rebellions. When we have to deal with rebellion, sometimes it gets to a point where
God.
it really can be challenging, and there's a lot of things today that parents have to deal with that parents in the past did not.
No.
And for that
And I keep that in
reason,
mind.
yeah, and for that reason, it's a little bit more challenging, but it should be even more challenging to those of us who know better, because the Bible tells us that as elder or older men and women, that we are to teach the younger men and women. And sometimes it can be costly as far as a friendship, a relationship, or getting told off or whatever. But our communities are the chaos is only growing, and if it's not in some way addressed, it's only going to get worse. So our intent with this program here is the On the Rise movement. It stems from the thought that of the philosophy that if we can educate, motivate, and inspire individuals to rise above life situations and circumstances, using those things that are available, just as Sister Barbara did that wonderful research. And that research is good. Anyone could have gotten it, but the conversation that you get as a result of sitting down with that information and how does it relate, that becomes the portion that the average person isn't going to get, especially when you get it piece by piece. But we're looking here as we move forward to make a difference. We're looking to be the difference and to inspire, educate, motivate others to inspire to be a difference as well. So we ask that you all continue to turn us on, share the video, and encourage others to kind of pay attention to what's going on. And by all means, if there's something that you feel we didn't elaborate on enough, take that for a discussion piece with your friends, or leave a note here in the room. As we go back to like the statements, we'll be able to pick up on it and possibly get back with you. But I thank you all for joining us. Sister Barbara, you want to give us your closing remarks, and we're going to wrap it up.
My closing remarks are, the person that's sitting next to you, God loves just as much as you do. No, none of us are perfect, but let's take the time to stop and try to see what can we do to make our life better and to make our neighbor's life better, to be a help and not a hindrance to anyone. And on that note, I release the word of love.
Amen.
And joy.
All right now. All right, peace and joy. All right, you all. Thank you all for joining us, and we next week if we prayerfully we'll be here at 8 p.m. And for those of you all who did come, even though we came late and we stayed a little longer, so we may have to look at that time. Just depends on how things flow. I love the flow today, Sister Barbara, even though we had the little issue with the headsets, and we'll be swifter next time to check both as opposed to just mine, because I really thought it was me. But as you all go on, after having seen this, hopefully something has been sown. And if you all, I would encourage you all to share this, because with the research Sister Barbara did and the comments we've made and the video that was shared there, I think couple that, someone might look a little bit closer or pay a little bit more attention. That's if you can get them past the first 30 seconds of the video, whatever they say people only watch nowadays. But you know what? It's not a concern for me, because though there are some people that need this, and those are the ones I pray that will find it. I hope you all have a blessed night. Peace and blessings, and I look forward to seeing you all next Friday. Thank you for joining me, Sister Barbara. And I would, there was a couple of people in the room. I was glad to see them. There'll come a day when we won't be able to do this, but I'm going to do it today. I want to thank Sister Keisha. I wish I had been reading the screen. She told me in the beginning that she could hear me clearly. Sister Cece and Pastor Dixon, Lady Antoinette, my dear, loving wife. She know I must want something. Deborah Stevens, my family, Danielle, P.E. Johnson, Daniela Johnson. Again, thank you all for joining us. And as you all go through and watch this, even though it may not be live, put your comments in there. You never know who's going to read them. Yes, thank you all as well. Peace and blessings. God bless.